So today I'd like to talk about my experience when moving to Australia. I'm going to discuss how I got to Australia, what I came to do in Australia, how life is in Australia, my opinion when it comes to moving to different places, and also give you pointers if you're thinking of moving to a different place that you'd like to call home. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If it's your first time, welcome. I'm delighted that you're here. If you're a returning subscriber, hi, good to see you again. So today I've gotten a privilege to work at a beautiful studio in Brisbane, and I would like to thank Sabi Studio for sponsoring this video. If you want to book yourself a time to walk away from your home, experience a different environment, let your creative juices flow, this is a place to be. If you'd like to book yourself this opportunity, a link will be in the description of this episode. And thank you, Sabi Studio, for sponsoring this part of the video. So I've been in Australia since 2015. I came to Australia to do my PhD, and when I got to Australia, I was blown away by how beautiful this country is. I've loved everything about it, from the people. They're very homely, they're very accommodative, hospitable, and they speak English. English is a national language of Australia, and almost everyone speaks English, so it was easier for me to get around coming from Uganda, my home country, where we also speak English. So the transition was really easy. When I came to Australia, I came as a PhD student to do my PhD at the University of Queensland, and the reason why I chose to move to Queensland of all the states was because I was offered a fully funded scholarship to do my PhD. Getting to Australia, I found Queensland to be beautiful because it's called the Sunshine State, meaning that all year round we have sunshine even during the winter months, and it's warm. It really gets warm. In summer it can get up to 38 degrees or so, that is centigrade or Celsius, and I love warm weather. Number two were the opportunities that Australia offered after you've completed your study. Many of the people I know in my immediate circle in Australia came to Australia as students, and after that they've established life and gotten jobs, bought houses, had families, and established their lives in Australia. So considering Australia was a good opportunity for me. As a person who did my master's degree in the UK then didn't have a direct process in how you would navigate from being a student to becoming a person who is working in the UK. And I recall when I was doing my master's, I was also on a scholarship. My scholarship necessitated me to go back to my home country. So I had no option for staying after I'd finished my studies, not to even get working experience after I'd gained the knowledge that I'd gained at the University of Manchester for my master's. So Australia had a definite, clear plan on what happened when you're done with studying. Transition from being a student to a permanent resident and eventually a citizen was easier compared to other places around the world. Number three was the duration of my PhD. I had considered to go to the UK or the US or Europe, but most of those places, the PhD durations were longer than what I wanted to do. I wanted to be done with my PhD by at least my fourth year. And in Australia, a PhD is usually 3 years, of which they give you 6 to 12 months extension in case you need more time to finish your PhD. So that meant that when I came to Australia, I knew that in 2015 I'm starting, and 2019 I would be done with my PhD. That's exactly that happened. I finished my PhD in 4 years, and after 4 years, I was able to apply for a graduate visa, which lets me work. And after the graduate visa, I progressed to being a permanent resident. From a permanent resident, then eventually became a citizen. So it was more of a direct process for me to establish myself after I'd finished my studies. Number four was the cost of living. Australia, compared to other places around the world, is a bit cheaper, if I say so myself. And I found that the income that you earn after you're done with the studying is way higher than most of the places around the world, meaning that if you come in as a student and after you finish your studies you get a job, you can make a good living for yourself and your family members on that income that you're making. Also, the fact that it has one of the best health systems Okay. I think UK has the best health system because I was there and I remember NHS was free for everyone, regardless whether you're a temporary resident or a permanent resident or a citizen. But Australia has the private health cover, whereby everyone who comes in who is not a permanent resident or a citizen has to have private health cover, which is also up to world standards, because I've delivered my 2 children in public hospitals and they're really beautiful. Like, you get everything that you need. So the healthcare system was way better, and it convinced me that if I needed any health related amenities, I'll be sure to get them. The culture in Australia is very, very nice. I've not experienced any issues when it comes to segregation, racism. I've been able to apply for a job and gotten it on merit without having to deal with any of those social biases, and I found that it's very easy for you to integrate into the Australian system if you decide to move to Australia. As a Ugandan, of course, when you're moving to a new country, you might be scared and you're like, okay, how will I find it? Will people be mean? Will I find it easy to integrate into the system? I found it was very easy for me to integrate into Australia, and have loved my experience here. The ability to be able to start a family and establish yourself in Australia without needing any other help. I wouldn't say that I don't need any other help, but it's easier for you to have your family members. I have a daughter and a son and a husband, and we've been able to make our life in Australia good because we are able to integrate into the society. We are able to get the foods that we eat back in Uganda. We are able to get good jobs and work and earn a better living for our family. So all those reasons are the reasons as to why I decided to choose to come to Australia in the first place. So I would like to talk about how to get to Australia. Of course, I'm not an immigration expert. I'm just giving you my point of view. To come to Australia, I had to apply for a student visa. And the time I applied in 2015, my country, we had to send our applications to South Africa, meaning that it used to be a paper-based kind of application. But ever since then, 8 years later, if I say from the website, the immigration website, you find that you just have to apply for your visa online, and you do your health check to make sure your health check is good, and also the police checks and everything else, and your visa is processed online. You don't have to send documentation to any country by DHL or any other courier service. That's what I know as of late. Australia has one of the numerous visa subclasses that you can apply for. You can come in here as a permanent resident, you can come in here as a person going to do business, as a student, as a visitor, as a humanitarian person. Let's say if you're a refugee and you live in your home countries. There are so many visa options for you to apply and come to Australia. So you need to decide what visa suits your needs, and it's what you need to apply for. The visa application fees are also on the website, and all the details for you to apply for any visa that you choose to apply for are on the website. The turnaround time for the visa application is usually short when it comes to different subclasses of visas. If you're applying to be a visitor, I think it's usually 45 to 60 days for you to get your visa, and some countries usually get their visas in like a week or so. So all the details in case you want to apply to Australia are in the description of this episode. Do I regret moving to Australia 8 years later? No, I do not regret coming to Australia 8 years later. Australia has availed me opportunities to grow my career. I came in as a student, now I'm a postdoc, and I've been able to do a lot of things because of the exposure I've gained in Australia. It has availed me opportunities to study, to learn, to build a life for myself and my family members, and I find that it was one of the best decisions I made for myself and my career and my family in general. Advice I would give anyone who is thinking of moving from wherever you've been, getting out of your comfort zone, going to a new country, trying to establish yourself somewhere else, would be make the decision clear. Be clear on your goal. Let your goal be bigger than yourself. I've done an episode where I talk about my PhD journey, but My goal for moving to Australia was because I wanted to pursue a career in virology. Virology is the study of viruses, and the work I do right now equates to me generating drugs, therapeutics, medicines, and vaccines for viruses around the globe. I work with dengue, West Nile virus, and coronaviruses. And for me to choose that career, I had to be clear on what direction I needed to take for my career. My goal has always been to contribute to eradicating these viruses. The only way I could do that was to advance from a master's degree that I'd gained from the UK to a PhD that I gained in Australia. So moving to Australia was a strategic goal for me, and I laid down my reasons as to why I wanted to move to Australia other than any other parts of the world. So the first point I would say is be clear on the reasons as to why you're moving and project your 5-year plan. When you have that projected 5-year plan, what will happen? Each year you break it down into 3 months, which are quarter, and have 4 quarterly goals for that year. Number 2 would be do your research. When it comes to moving, to uprooting yourself from wherever you've been and going to somewhere else, people's opinion is their opinion. My opinion is my opinion. So do your research and find out the reasons as to why you've chosen that place over any other place. If it's moving to Australia, define the reasons as to why you want to move to Australia over moving to the US, UK, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Europe, etc. So your reasons should be solely based on you as a person. Number 3 would be to be open-minded. Open-mindedness comes in that you'll be able to know, if I'm to move here, these are the reasons why I want to move there, but also these are the things that I might not be sure about. That will help you in such a way that you'll be able to decide if the move is right for you or it's not right for you. Open-mindedness is going to help you even gauge the places you want to go to. Like I mentioned, I wanted to move to the US or Canada, but when I looked at it and I sought opinion of my husband now, then he was my fiancé, we decided we can't move to Canada because he's not fan of the cold weather. We had all those other reasons that were inherently ours, and we decided to choose a place that would fit all our needs and put our fears at bay. Number 4 would be take action. After you've done all the other steps, take action. Find information about where you want to move. Apply for the visas. Look for people who are already existing in those areas that you want to move, who might be of the same cultural background as yourself, who might have achieved the goals that you want to achieve for yourself, and learn from them. Seek their counsel, seek their advice. All these are going to help you choose the best place for you to go. The last question I'd like to tackle is, how can anyone move to Australia? As I've already explained, if you want to move to Australia, all the details on how to apply for visas are on the website of the immigration. I'll leave a link in the description. I think it's Home Affairs website. So you go on there and look for a visa. Usually they ask you things like, what do you plan to do in Australia? If you're a student, of course, it will lead you to a student visa. If you want to come as a skilled talent, it will give you the skilled talent. If you want to come in as a visitor, it will give you the visitors option. So there are different options that you can choose and apply for the visa. The visa application process should be clear. Just make sure that you read the details and the explanations on how to apply to the details so that your applications are not rejected. Other than that, I've loved my experience in Australia and I don't regret having moved here. And I hope you've loved this video. Catch you in the next one. Bye.